Well, it just may have been the tweet heard round the world. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle. Today, we're talking about the ongoing, insane, illuminating battle between Elon Musk and the state of California. I'd like to provide just a little bit of context so we can just back up the clock just a couple days. Elon Musk has started to make his Tesla factory profitable and productive in Fremont, California. He was opposed to the lockdown, but did the lockdown for 4 weeks, as so many of us did. I'm looking here at a tweet that he put out, and it basically is a chart. It came out on May 1st, so it's quite a while ago, showing hospital bed occupancy in terms of what we predicted versus what is actually there. And Elon Musk is presenting actual data, not models, saying, here's what we're expected. Here's what is here. This is nuts. We need to go back to work. Well, they wouldn't let him go back to work. Up in Alameda County, they continued to enforce the lockdown. And as it got worse and worse, Elon Musk basically said, I think we're going to take Tesla out of California. We're going to go to Texas where they not insane and still value freedom. At which point, California Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, who promoted and actually got passed the AB5 law. It's a law that says that if you work as a musician for Joe's bar on Thursday nights, Joe can't pay you as an independent contractor. You have to be a full-time employee of Joe's bar and get all the benefits and all the rest of the stuff, the gig-based economy. The person who brought that piece of catastrophe to the most gig-intensive state in the union, she responded to Elon Musk's threat to leave California by tweeting F*** Elon Musk. Now, at this point, I should insert just simply my quick opinion that at that point, that person should have been removed from the California legislature for decorum reasons, and that's all, period. Just simply for the sake of decorum, that person should have been taken out with security. But that was not the end of it. Elon Musk, as it turns out, replied to that tweet with a message received. And then the next day, he said, well, all right, we've talked about lawsuits. We've talked about how unreasonable this is. I've shown you the science. We're talking about protecting ourselves, going back voluntarily. And then he issued a tweet that I think could be heard around the world. He said, Tesla is restarting production today against Alameda County rules. I will be on the line with everyone else. If anyone is arrested, I ask that it only be me. Not just that I'm included in the arrest, that I'm the only person being arrested. I'm the person making this decision, and it's not fair to take my staff to jail just because I think this factory should be open. The fact that the factory was essentially fully staffed is a pretty good indication that virtually everybody agrees with Elon Musk. And I personally happen to think, just off the top of my head, that a guy who's figured out to make a rocket come back from near orbit and land on its own plume of flame on the size of a postage stamp in the middle of the Atlantic, I'm going to just go way out on a limb here and say that this guy has more intellectual capacity than a person who's the assemblywoman from San Diego in terms of whether this is safe or not. So, gentlemen, there's the setup. And Steve, you were very kind. We usually do the request for the show order in terms of who has the members this week, and you do, and you wanted this story too, and we
pulled rank.
Two men entered the Thunderdome, and only one man left. But thank you very much for letting me have this one, because this one is very important to me for a number of reasons. But what does this tell you about not just California government, but progressive government in general? And as part of your answer, hopefully, as we record this, he has not been arrested. This is a gigantic case of actually calling someone's bluff. It really is. It's really coming out saying, you're holding four aces. You're going to arrest me if I open this thing? Well, God damn it, I'm opening it. And I guess I'll see you in prison. Has he called their bluff? What do you have to say about this whole thing?
Oh, it was such a huge power play against the California government. I'm in awe of this guy over this. Yeah, they don't dare arrest him after that. A couple of things. The first, there is an ad running this week. I'm not sure on which day, in the San Diego Tribune. There's a lobbying organization called Faces of AB5. AB5 is the anti-gig economy law that you were talking about a moment ago.
Right.
They're running this at San Diego Tribune. And the text of the ad, and I think this is going to be a full page or half page ad, says Gonzalez championed AB5, destroyed thousands of California jobs. Elon Musk founded revolutionary companies, created thousands of California jobs. Then it ends with the question, who's really effing California? I love that.
I do too.
It is so absolutely true. Progressives don't care about jobs. They care about dependency. Union guys are dependent on their organization, and the organization is dependent on government. Let me tell you a story. My grandfather had a small steel service company back in St. Louis till he retired in the early 90s called Southwest Steel Supply. It's not in existence anymore, unfortunately, or I'd maybe travel back every once in a while. I kind of drive by, get that old school feel, because I worked there for him for several summers, and I got a pretty good feel for the place. He hated the Teamsters, not the Teamster guys, the union guys who worked on his shop floor. He hated the organization because there was always some Teamster boss with some alderman in his pocket, or maybe it was the other way around, with some tax or regulatory scheme to literally put him out of business. He estimated to me one time that he spent about 30% of his working hours just trying to stay in business, not trying to make money, trying to stay in business because of
comply.
To comply and to defeat new schemes that would require even more compliance. And I asked him, well, if you didn't have to do all this, waste a third of your time, what would you be doing instead? And he thought about it for a moment. He had a serious face on, and he said, well, either the company would be 30% bigger or I'd have 30% more free time. And when he says the company would be 30% bigger, that means he's cutting 30% more steel. He's hiring 30% more workers. He's buying 30% more equipment. And you extrapolate that across the scope of the entire economy, and you get an idea for what this huge government union beast costs us every day. And when you figure out how much growth we've lost, you don't even do the math. It'll keep you up at night crying. The value we've destroyed in this country or caused to never be created in the first place is just too depressing to think about. All that said, whenever there was a downturn in business, he and his management team took a 10% pay cut across the board before they would lay off a single Teamster from the shop floor.
That's leadership.
Those guys loved him. Absolutely love that guy. That's what's going on right now in Fremont, California at Tesla. Those guys at Tesla, those guys working the line, they love Elon Musk right now. He's putting them back to work. He's giving them paychecks. He's working on the line, shoulder to shoulder with them. And he's telling them, arrest me.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Scott, Elon Musk had many strong financial reasons to move Tesla out of California and move everything out of California to Texas. It is an extremely high prestige job. I'll talk about that in a minute. Company. And he had a great deal of financial incentive to do this. But at the same time, it's a great deal of work, and it involves a lot of uprooting. I'm sure virtually all of his existing staff would go with him, and they would be saving a lot of money too. But it's a traumatic thing, moving an entire company and 10,000 workers and their families, halfway across the country. But when a representative of the state of California, who is the personification of everything that's wrong with this state, comes out and publicly just says, F you. Do you think that now has made it personal to the degree that it wasn't before, and has in fact cemented not only his decision to perhaps remove Tesla, but perhaps also put into his mind, okay, that's the attitude of the government of California. We'll see what we'll do with SpaceX too. As soon as we get Tesla out of here, we've got an enormous facility in Hawthorne. We'll move that to Texas as well.
I don't think the tweet from this assemblywoman represents the opinion of the government of California necessarily, and
I do.
She's a flea. She's a nobody. She appeals to a very small chunk of people whom she represents, and she thought that she could score some points by what she would consider to be punching up at the big billionaire and putting on a show for her local constituents, who I'm sure all greeted that with hearty huzzas and were glad to hear her telling the big man to take a hike. That said, California has other ways of using that phrase, and they do it through laws, and they do it through regulations, and they do it through taxation. And they have been that the signal has been received long before Elon Musk said "message received," and many major corporations have moved from California to Texas and elsewhere. We mentioned during our backstage show that, after 52 years headquartered in California, Toyota moved North American headquarters just down the street to, I'm not sure if they're in Frisco or Plano or the Colony, but they're right down the street from the store where I work, which is in the Colony. So that's a huge disruption for a company to do that. But obviously, many people are looking at Texas and saying, the sweet smell of liberty is a lot more inviting, and a state where the governor really seems to care about fostering the opportunity for innovation and growth and entrepreneurism is much more welcoming than somebody who's always looking to scold you and slap your wrist. And Bill, I understand what you're saying. You're saying you think that's I'm just saying this particular woman's statement is not any kind of official declaration of the government of California. The government of California finds other ways to do that. All of that said, some people were giving a hard time to Texas because of what happened to Shelley Luther, the owner of Salon a la Mode. That was a far north Dallas salon where she was arrested after she violated a temporary restraining order from a judge. Those who didn't follow up on that story may not know that Shelley Luther has been released from prison, that the governor and the lieutenant governor of Texas called for her release, that the Supreme Court of Texas overruled the little district judge's ruling that put her in jail. And so Texas, in general, really is a welcoming place. Dallas itself may not be. But they made a good point during that case, and I think Elon Musk has a good point in his rebellion out there, which is that the government shouldn't be in a position of declaring which businesses are essential and which ones are not, which ones may be open and which ones may be closed. If they want to establish some regulations because of a public health crisis and say we're concerned about capacity, we don't want people coming in contact with each other, the government issues a capacity permit to a lot of local businesses, we're dialing that back to 50% or 25%. That's one thing. To say that your entire operation is not essential is something that's completely outside of the bounds of anything known by a liberty-loving people. And by the way, my guess would be in the Tesla factory, while we use the phrase Elon Musk stepping up to the line and working shoulder to shoulder with these other people, my guess is there's not a lot of shoulder rubbing in a high-tech factory like that.
No.
And that there are social distancing can be observed, good hygiene. I'm working in a store right now and customers are coming in and we are practicing social distancing. We are wearing masks as a staff. We are washing our hands and putting on the hand sanitizer and stuff like that. And so far, things are going well. I guess I'm glad Elon Musk is doing this. I invite him to join us here in Texas. And I think that this assemblywoman is actually going to be resoundingly reelected by her district, because no district would send somebody like that to the assembly if they weren't of like mind.
I've lived in California since 1988, and people are constantly asking me why don't I move to America? I would like it there better, and there's no question I would. But my response to them has always been, look, if you're a volcanologist, you got to live under the volcano, right? I mean, that's basically it. Hollywood is just behind the wall here and just over the hills. So I kind of need to be in the center of the places that decide that there should be human rights for broccoli. So that's why I'm here, because all of the bad stuff is coming from here and I get to see it first. But this is something really different. California used to be the center of production, not just for the United States, but the world, of entertainment, aerospace, and agriculture. All of that has moved out of the state now. California, however, does remain top in terms of production in one area, It is by quite a large margin the largest producer of poverty in the United States of America. 1 out of every 3 welfare cases lives in California. It is an enormously effective and continuously more effective producer of American poverty. California's attitude towards business, once progressives had gotten themselves so entrenched that there was no chance of ever recovering it, was to basically say this: we will give contracts to unions and we will pay exorbitant, ridiculous, insane retirement benefits, $250,000 a year for life for somebody who was the assistant deputy water, management administrator for the city of Fontana, this kind of thing, in exchange for you using your collective organization to vote us in. So it's essentially it's management and labor all on the same side, each one voting to give each other a raise. It's an iron circle. We will give the union big breaks if the union votes to get us elected, and round and round and round it goes. But this one's different. I'll tell you why this one's different. California's image of itself has mutated into not so much being the cutting edge of everything, so much as being the ideological cutting edge of the progressive vision. And the ideological progressive vision is a world of green energy with everything run by windmills and electric cars and so on. Elon Musk is a champion of this. His car company produces high performance electric cars that are in great demand. He is talking about Hyperloop, which is a system of mass transit on a train that, unlike the so-called high-speed rail project to nowhere, is capable of supersonic speeds operating in a tunnel and take you from Los Angeles to New York in about an hour. All of this stuff is the future that California sees for itself and for its entire country. This is the future that California sees as ideal. And for Elon Musk to leave this state, it's like the Dodgers leaving Brooklyn. I mean, it is essentially inconceivable to imagine that this green, forward-looking company with their batteries that run houses on, for 3 days on a wall-mounted battery and all of that this is going to move to Texas where they drill for oil and execute people is intolerable to the California mind. But it's yet another case of the death spiral that California is in and will continue to be in. And it's not going to change until things like this happen. And when I say things like this, I don't mean Elon Musk moving out of California to Texas. He's just another one of thousands of businesses that do this every year. What is the only thing that might possibly change California is for somebody like Elon Musk to basically call the bluff, not just of California government, but to be perfectly honest, folks, to call the bluff of government in general. If everybody in this country decided that they were no longer going to pay any income tax, there's nothing that the government could do about that. They can't arrest everybody. They simply can't. This is the ultimate bluff, is the bluff that compliance with the government will result in punishment. And what Elon Musk has been forced to do by the insane government of California that long ago broke the social compact has basically called their bluff. He said, you say, I can't go to work? Well, I'm tired of it and I need people to have jobs. And, I think what he's basically saying, to be perfectly honest with you guys, is that you know what the definition of an essential job is? Your job is an essential job. If it's your job, it's essential. It's essential to you. And for him to simply say, in direct violation of the Alameda County health laws, we're opening tomorrow. What are you going to do about it? If you're going to arrest somebody, come arrest me. It's revolutionary. It's revolutionary, and it puts California in a complete and total trap. What is the state of California now, or the government of the county, going to do? They have two choices. They can either arrest Elon Musk and put him to jail and give him a mugshot for opening while he's shown already how low the hospitalization rate is and so on. They can put him into jail, give him a mugshot and a picture, or they can realize that this guy has simply shown how utterly powerless these people are if people are not willing to agree to be governed by the likes of Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, who has no job other than getting rid of other people's job. That's her job. Her job is to destroy other people's jobs. That's what Lorena Gonzalez does. That's what she gets paid for. So we'll see. But to me, I thought it was perfect in every way. I thought it was ideologically perfect, and I think it was rhetorically perfect. The optics of it were brilliantly handled. Message received. Okay, F me, got it. I got it. I heard what you're saying. Well, guess what? We're going to open this factory tomorrow, so maybe it's not F me, maybe it's F you. And Americans love this. Even Californians, there's still enough Americans left in California to respect and admire this, and to be happy that someone has the courage and the conviction to come out and say, all right, well, I think your law is illegal. I think it's stupid, and I think it's destructive, and I'm not going to obey it. So what are you going to do about it? Stay tuned. For Steve Green and Scott Ott, I'm Bill Whittle. This show is made possible by a number of people who have that exact same attitude, not only towards government, but towards authority in general, and towards the idea of production and wealth and prosperity in particular. A small number of people make these shows available to large numbers of people. If you're one of these people who've been watching it over the years and are not a member at BillWhittle.com, just understand that somebody else is paying your way. And most of us wouldn't really like that in most circumstances. Just something for you to think about. If you don't sign up, I'm going to send the Alameda County Board of Health after you, and we will extract your money by force. At least that's the threat that I'm going to make right now. Until next week, I'm Bill. For Steve and Scott, this is Right Angle. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.